you don't fist fight Matthew McConaughey about his Lincoln, because you're just going to lose.
And I mean, that makes sense. I mean, McConaughey is all about the all right hooks.
Oh, God.
Oh, I'm recording. Whoops. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Once again, it is Tall and Short with Tim and Tony. How's everybody's doing?
I'm doing all right. All right.
Man.
That hurts. That actually hurts a lot.
You're beating yourself up like Matt Damon from that one movie.
No, like Matthew McConaughey in Wall Street.
To an inanimate?
Shut up.
You know what? We mentioned it in the last episode. So, the tournament is something on Tony's end.
Shut up.
When we were both roommates.
I hate you.
Hey.
You're dead to me.
It was the best thing ever. So, Tony was playing Injustice 2, Gods Among Us.
Yes.
We were looking through all the different characters and their various skins. And they have one skin called the Tournament skin, which is black and gold. And Tony, for some odd reason, couldn't say the word tournament.
I had a mild episode of cranial function.
It's like the...
or lack thereof.
It's like the record needle on his brain just went...
Yeah, it's...
He just
said...
Hey
guys, you like this tournament?
Tournament?
Skin?
I was sitting on the couch, initially. Then I was on the ground, holding my sides... having a difficult time breathing because I was laughing so hard.
And I said it just like that. There was no, pause. It was like, I know how to say this word. And
it just went.
Just word vomited out of my face hole.
I could not help but laugh. I was in tears.
I hate you.
I'm surprised I didn't have abs by the end of it by how much I was laughing.
I'm going to kill you.
Got that on audio.
It's not an admission of guilt. It just makes it pre-planned. Premeditated. That was the word I was thinking of. Pre-planned, premeditated. Which it doesn't make it.
No. But anyway, currently we're in 2023, but we're gonna go back quite a few years. Back to the 1830s, Tony. We're going Victorian on this today. We're in my realm of expertise.
Oh, God. Plagues and masks. People, like...
That's the 1500s.
No, that's 2020.
Okay, fair enough. You got me there.
Not wrong.
So, about almost 200 years ago, we're heading that way. We're going back to jolly old England.
Cheerio.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Oh, doom and gloom of England in the 1800s.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Victorian era, mostly for the fashion. Mostly for the clothing. But otherwise, all the human rights violations that we put nowadays, child labor laws, women being viewed as nothing more than,
furniture, really?
Pretty much. And just the, how people treated mental health disorders as well as, people who were LGBTQ. Just a lot of stuff that was way backwards back then.
But the clothes.
Absolutely. That's where it's at. I used to romanticize the Victorian era, but looking on it now, I'm just like, ugh. I would not want to live there.
No.
Especially because...
Great place to visit, not a great place to be.
Especially because, it was also pretty grimy. We're talking, they didn't have indoor plumbing for a while. And they threw their chamber pots...
indoor plumbing?
And they threw their chamber pots out the window.
I love how you just glazed over that comment.
I didn't even hear what you said.
You have indoor plumbing?
Okay, you got me there.
That's why I have a privacy fence in the backyard. What are you talking about?
I've got privacy.
Because you have indoor plumbing.
Exactly. Anyway.
Victorian era.
Yeah. So.
Enough about my problems.
We're going to specifically focus on something here. In October 1837, a servant girl by the name of Mary Stevens was walking through Clapham Common, an urban park in London, kind of like the big Manhattan Park. I forgot what it's called.
Central Park?
Central Park in Manhattan.
You are nailing it, buddy.
I am already hitting it on the head. My bad. Anyway.
What's that park in the Central Park of Manhattan? Central Park?
I got that. Anyway, so, yeah, Clapham...
You've been there.
I was only in a part of it. Anyway, in Clapham Common, an urban park in London, this Mary Stevens reported being assaulted by a menacing figure who leapt from a dark alley. The assailant subdued Mary and kissed her face, ripped her clothes with claws, and had a cold and clammy grip like a corpse's. Already pretty disgusting. And I should have said at the top of this that trigger warning for potential sexual assault for anybody. I should have said that beforehand. My bad. Need to do that more at the top of the episodes.
Probably should, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Mary was able to scream loudly enough, though, which not only scared away her assailant, but also managed to get the attention of several nearby residencies who went out to see what the matter was. The residents then formed a small mob and began a hunt for the mysterious man, but they were unable to find him. This happened at night as well.
Of course.
Everything happens at night.
Yes.
But a day after this incident, night in this case, the mysterious man appeared once again in the same neighborhood, likely trying to find and assault Mary again. But this time he was scared off by a passing carriage, which he leapt in front of, startling the horses and causing the driver to lose control and crash the carriage. The driver got hurt, but was otherwise okay. Witnesses to the events say the figure then leapt away, jumping over a 9-foot-tall fence, cackling loudly as he vanished into the night.
So that's just you on the weekends.
That's actually how they described it. Loud, high-pitched ringing. So, I could imagine that. Newspapers would go on to give the figure the name Spring-Heeled Jack.
Jumpin' Jack... Wait, what?
Yeah, Spring-Heeled Jack, due to his unnatural ability to leap great distances. In the following months, thus the remainder of 1837, since it was October, there will be multiple encounters that all seem to involve this very entity throughout several districts in London. And London, I did looking into it, it's a small... London is massive. It's kind of like Oklahoma City, in that OKC has... you have OKC in the middle, then you have Edmond in the north, and Yukon and Mustang in the west, and Norman and Moore in the south. It's like everything is in the metro district, so London has all these different districts. But we're going to mainly just call it London for the time being.
London call... Wait, no, copyright. Hang on.
Yeah, careful. So much so with all of these encounters that January 9th, 1838, the Lord Mayor of London, Sir John Cowan, had to make a public meeting wherein he brought forth a letter from a correspondence in the district of Peckham. I did some looking into the Lord Mayor of London. It's only an annual office, so like you hold it for 1 year.
Sort of like the Prime Minister of late?
Give or take. Give or take.
No, hang on, no, it's a full year.
No, she didn't even last a year.
Yeah, she didn't last 3 months.
No.
46 days.
Yeah. Anyway, the letter verbatim, which I actually managed to find in an old copy of a newspaper from the time period.
Impressive.
Yep. And I might want to do this in an accent. To the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor, my lord. The writer presumes that your leadership will kindly overlook the liberty he has taken in addressing a few lines in a subject which, within the few last weeks, has caused much alarming sensation in the neighbourings within the 3 and 4 miles of London. It appears that some individuals, of, as the writer believes, the highest ranks of life, have laid a wager with a mysterious and foolhardy companion, that he durst not take upon himself the task of visiting many of the villages near London in 3 different disguises, a ghost, a bear, and a devil, and moreover, that he will not dare to enter gentlemen's gardens for the purpose of alarming the inmates of the house. The wager, however, has been accepted, and the unmanly villain has succeeded in depriving 7 ladies of their senses. At one house, the man rang the bell, and on the servant coming to the open door, this worse-than-brute stood in no less dreadful figure than a spectre clad most perfectly. The consequence was that the poor girl immediately swooned and has never from that moment been in her senses. But on seeing any man, screams out most violently, "Take him away!" There are 2 ladies, which your lordship will regret to hear, who have husbands and children, and who are not expected to recover, but likely to become burdens upon their families. For fear that your lordship might imagine that the writer exaggerates, he will refrain from mentioning other cases, if anything, more melancholy than those he has already related. The affair has now been going on for some time, and strange to say, the papers are still silent on the subject. The writer is very unwilling to be unjust towards any man, but he has reason to believe that they have the whole history of their finger ends, but through interested motives are induced to remain silent. It is, however, high time that such a detestable nuisance should be put a stop to, and the writer feels assured that your lordship, as the chief magistrate of London, will take great pleasure in exerting your power to bring the villain to justice. Hoping your lordship will pardon the liberty I have taken in writing, I remain your lordship's most humble servant, a resident of Peckham.
2 things.
Shoot.
I'm astounded by your ability to grow a monocle and top out of your face like that.
I have that ability. It's the mustache. You should know this by now.
It is. 2, isn't it nice to hear someone complain to their government in such an eloquent way?
They wrote things way different back in the day, man. Like, they were much more eloquent than they are nowadays. Now it's just an angry tweet of, "Fuck you, government."
I was going to say, hard cut to today. Or say, maybe 3 years ago and some change. Maybe a 6th of January time frame. Ooh.
Oh boy.
Ooh, that burn. Yeah.
Anyway.
Eloquence.
Yeah. They wrote... I had to do it in the voice, I think, too, because...
That was...
The way they did talk back then was... Especially because it's Victorian England, it was a little bit more different than how we speak.
Yeah.
So I think the accent
not one
helped.
mention of football.
I know, right? But now...
Bizarre.
But in short, in regards to the letter, the Lord Mayor and a few others thought that the early incidences were a bunch of rich guys being, bored with life and just decided to cause fear and panic. What?
And just being weird.
Just being assholes.
Oh.
Being assholes for their own amusement, terrorizing women throughout the various neighborhoods and districts of London. The Lord Mayor made it clear that the perpetrator or perpetrators would be caught and punished to the fullest extent of the law.
Spoilers. They never were.
Hold up.
Oh my God.
A little over a month later after this meeting, on the night of February 19th, 1838, Spring Hill struck again. And the incident gave us the most definitive description of the figure. Say that 3 times fast.
No.
Late on the night of the 19th, possibly into the 20th, so maybe in around midnight-ish.
Yeah.
A knock
hour.
Yep. A knock was heard at the door of a London residence. 18-year-old Jane Alsop had opened the door. She checked it out. She even heard someone yelling, "For God's sake, bring me a light, for we have caught Spring Hill Jack in the lane." She brought a candle to the door, and when she opened it, she saw the person before her, wearing a large black cloak. When Jane handed the figure the candle, he threw off the cloak, and she described him as a short, round, impish man with a sharp-pointed nose, a balding head with long, wiry dark hair, deep-set dark eyes, pale skin, cold, clammy, webbed hands, and wearing what appeared to be white long johns under his cloak, saying, "You didn't invite me, so I crashed!" Hang on a second. I was describing the Penguin played by Danny DeVito in Batman Returns.
I was going to say, you're just describing Danny DeVito at this point. Jesus. You didn't see it because it's an audio podcast, clearly. But my head, the way we've got set up, we've got these giant foam boxes in front of us with our microphones in them. And my head just panned around the box slowly, like, my guy, you're describing DeVito.
Anyway, I'm kidding. I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. But what Jane Alsop actually described was the figure having a most hideous and frightening appearance before he spat blue and white flames while his eyes seemed to glow like red balls of fire.
That escalated very quickly.
Yep.
Jesus.
She described her attacker as wearing a tight-fitting outfit that looked as if it were made of white oilskin, and the figure wore an odd helmet. Without word or warning, the figure lunged forward and began to tear at her clothing with what she thought were metal claws on the assassin's fingertips.
What you do on the weekend is your own thing. That's just the metal the outfit sounds like something you would do.
A white oilskin with a black cloak over it and claws? And a helmet?
Do you not have that sitting in your closet?
Miraculously, no. I have the cloak, I don't have the oilskin.
It's only a matter of time. That is the fireballs, the flames.
Like, supposedly took the candle up to his face, just...
That's when you've had too much to drink.
Alsop screamed, though. Yeah, Alsop screamed as she fought back against her attacker, who also managed to claw at her neck and arms, leaving actual marks. Yeah. Her screams were enough to gather the attention of one of her sisters, as well as her father and some neighbors. The sisters managed to get Jane back inside while the assailants stayed at the front door, knocking a few more times before bounding away into the night. Just like, hey, come on, let me in! Just, come on, I'm not gonna hurt ya! It's like trying to go full The Shining. Just...
Ooh, you have gone from Dickensian English gent to you're just an angry guy from Philly. Come on, let me in.
Unintentionally with the
Shout out to Philly. Yeah.
Hey. But after a few attempts at knocking on the door, the figure bounded into the night. There were some more who reported that Spring Hill Jack had left his cloak behind, but another person had came by and grabbed it, given the suspicion that Spring Hill Jack may have had accomplices. But that was not much on sources in that one.
No.
Nothing went anywhere on that after that. No more than a week and a half later, Spring Hill Jack was spotted again. On February 28th, 18-year-old Lucy Scales and her sister were heading home from seeing their brother, who followed in their father's footsteps by being a butcher. In the district of Limehouse.
Okay.
Making their way through Green Dragon Alley, the sisters noticed a figure in a cloak standing at the passageway carrying a bullseye lantern, which looks like the stereotypical lantern.
With just it's like a spotlight on a police car, isn't it?
No, like, this is Victorian. It's like the big oil lamps.
Oh, okay.
Like one of those with a big round lens on the front so it shines the direction. Like that thing. That's a bullseye lantern.
Wrong. Kind of like a spotlight on a cop car or something.
Yeah, but not electric. Fire.
Boogie, boogie, boogie.
These types of lanterns were carried by police, as we mentioned. Lucy was just in front of her sister when, as she got closer to the figure spat blue and white flames at her, which caused Lucy to convulse and seize into fits of hysteria.
Jesus.
These lasted for several hours. The figure didn't do much else and left into the night. The sister's brother heard the commotion and ran to see what was going on. He and his sister then grabbed Lucy and got her back inside, where the sister recounted what had happened to their brother. Unfortunately, there weren't a lot of other, major stories that I could find.
Yeah.
Just for this.
Because age, I imagine, is probably a major factor in this, but...
Yeah, not a lot of records were kept.
Yeah.
Allegedly, there were hundreds to possibly even thousands of people who encountered this figure, Spring Heel Jack.
What the
But they possibly weren't any more than just, oh, I saw him, but that was it.
I saw him go over my neighbor brother's cousin's house.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. They saw him throughout London, parts of the Midlands, and some even think he made it.
Jesus.
That caught me off guard.
That caught me off guard too.
Yeah, hang on. Some people saw him in the Midlands. Other people claim to have seen him all the way as far north as Scotland, which is pretty far from London. So
yeah, that's a little bit of a. It's more than a couple of jumps and hops.
That's
for
definitely
old Spring Hill.
That's definitely a leap.
He's gonna have to take the train.
Oh yeah, at some point. But other stories were not easy. Most of the reports just kept popping up for a few decades, albeit slowly they became more frequent again. One of the last major reports that might have been Spring-Heeled Jack was in August of 1877 at the Aldershot Garrison.
I've heard about this one.
Yeah,
I know that one.
A military town in southeast England.
Yep.
While on duty on the North Camp, a sentry guard noticed a figure approaching him in the night. When the sentry ordered the figure to identify itself, it remained silent. And soon, the figure was right up on the sentry, who then received several slaps and scratches to the face. Just got bitch slapped by the figure.
Yeah.
In response,
Wow.
the sentry fired his rifle at the figure, but seemed to have no effect.
Yep.
Soon
Allegedly, just basically went straight through him.
Yep, or didn't even hit him at all.
Or
may have been blanks even.
Yeah.
Soon after, the figure just bounded away into the night, once again vanishing. I got even something here that I couldn't believe. There was even a letter allegedly sent from Spring-Heeled Jack, which included the following: I could really get into this mass stuff. It's not about power. It's about reaching out to people, touching people, groping people. You gotta admit, I played the stinking city like a hawk from hell. They wouldn't put me on a pedestal, so I'm laying them on a slab. Okay.
You okay, Danny?
I couldn't resist. I was like, I gotta look up some more Penguin quotes, see what I could find.
My lord, the colonies are attacking again. They're quite angry.
I couldn't. I had just seen the movie recently,
this needs to be canon now. There needs to be a Spring-Heeled Jack movie. It needs to be Danny DeVito.
Oh, I would love that.
And he needs to, not even an English accent like he should have in 1800s London, just an angry Philly voice, or Boston.
Or whatever he's doing.
And then we can have the rest of the cast of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia jump in whenever.
That'd be beautiful. Yeah, because they described Spring Heel as having the white outfit, and he's wearing white long johns, dirty white long johns in the movie. I was like, close enough.
Yeah.
I thought I'd have some fun with it. Batman Returns is a good movie, though. I mean, come on.
Is that the one with Keaton?
Yeah, that's the second one.
Yeah, that's like the
Michael Keaton and
I'd say that's the second best.
After but there was no letter. I want to specify this to people.
There's totally a letter. He's lying to you. Don't believe lies.
I'm just bullshitting because I'm having
Fake
some
Penguin
fun.
News. And there's our first shirt idea, Fake Penguin News.
After the Aldershot Garrison, reports started to slowly fizzle out for the next few decades. An angry mob claimed to have chased after what they thought was Spring-Heeled Jack, a figure dressed in what appeared to be a wool skin or sheepskin, dressed up as a bear. But once again, the figure vanished into the night.
Of course.
As
you do.
As the prophecy foretold. Nearing the end of the 19th century, reports of the Leaping Legend seemed to be coming from the northwest of London, mainly the Midlands and Scotland, but these reports were small stuff, mostly allegedly seeing the figure leaping tall fences and gates, or even leaping and standing on rooftops. Sorta your stereotypical spot where the brooding hero has to go just to overlook the city.
How old is the Assassin's Creed games? I feel like there's a connection there. I feel like he was playing too much on the Xbox or the PlayStation, and his mother told him to go play outside. He was like, I'll just do parkour.
Maybe that's what Spring-Heeled Jack was just an early parkourist. Nah. Okay, that broke you.
No. In the Danny DeVito Spring-Heeled Jack movie, Steve Carell does all his stunts, and he yells parkour like he does in The Office.
Oh god, I can see DeVito doing that too, like parkour, yeah.
And then just horrible hard cut to Steve Carell jumping. Why isn't this movie made yet?
Oh boy,
Tim, get a hold of Steve Carell.
What makes you think I have his? Never mind. But by 1904, reports of Spring Hill Jack just stopped. So it was 1837 to 1904. That was 67 years that this alleged scourge had affected.
How many years?
67.
Jesus.
Yeah, 1837 to 1904. 67 years.
Yeah.
Nearly 70 years of just horror.
Yeah, Mick Jagger's doing pretty good for his age.
Oh. What about Keith Richards?
He was busy shooting
Fair enough.
something.
Fair enough. Of course, now the question that a lot of people have asked. Who or what was Spring Hill Jack? Were there any suspects? Were there any coincidences? Yes and no. I got yes and no.
Yes and maybe.
Yeah.
No.
First off, there were a few suspects, one of which was a man named Thomas Milbank. Milbank was allegedly the one who attacked Jane Alsop. He actually bragged that he was Spring Hill Jack, and on the night in question, he was wearing white overalls and wearing a dark greatcoat, which he had left behind at the Alsop residence. Milbank wounding up escaping conviction because Alsop said it couldn't have been Milbank because Spring Hill Jack spat fire. And Milbank couldn't. He couldn't have done it, officer. He didn't spite fire.
Policing. It's like burning a witch at the stake. Well, if you survive, you're clearly a witch, but if you die, well...
Yeah, this is one of those instances where it's like, but he said that he was Spring Hill. Now, he could have just been a jackass and yeah, it was totally me. I'm going to take the credit for this.
He totally could have been chatting it. But...
It could have been that, but instead, I don't know. Again, a lot of the stuff from that time, it's...
Did anyone check him for tequila?
Did they even have tequila back in the 1830s?
Did they even have Bacardi 151?
I don't think they had that. Nah.
Sir, he can't make a fireball. Clearly, my client is innocent. He admitted to it, though.
But he doesn't breathe fire, and he
doesn't have fireballs.
And he can't leap great distances. That was how a lot of people got out of it, was the fact that, you can't do that. It's inhuman.
I'm innocent, you say?
I got one more. I actually have one more, and the very most popular suspect that a lot of people wanted to go for was the Marquis of Waterford.
Let me guess. High-ranking white guy.
Yes. A marquis is a form of nobility.
Yeah.
It's I actually have it written here. It's above an earl, but below a duke. Some weird hierarchy.
Yeah. Fancy titles.
Yeah, he was an Irish nobleman, to be specific. His name was Henry de la Poire Beresford, the 3rd Marquis of Waterford. Long name.
Yeah, that...
Long title, too. The thing about it is the Marquis found himself in the papers quite often. Usually not in good stuff, though. He was known for his drunken antics and fights, as well as his very negative attitude towards women and police. He very much hated women, and he was very much fuck the police. He did not like any of that at all.
So he was MWA. Marquis with attitude.
I was like, where's he going with this? Okay.
Fornicate that police.
Fie on the constabulary.
And just like that, we're a rap podcast. 2 white boys from Oklahoma. Yeah.
Oh, God. In fact, I actually have one of the best / worst drunken incidences of the Marquis. This happened in 1837. In Milton Mowbray, the Marquis and several of his friends had been out drinking and they wanted to pass a toll gate. But the tollkeeper wouldn't open the gates until he was paid.
I mean, God forbid you use logic like that.
I mean, you gotta pay the troll toll to get to the boy's soul, right?
That's how it goes.
Yeah. I had to say it properly. Of course, it's... unfortunately for the tollkeeper and a responding constable, there was some red paint and brushes and ladders and other stuff because the toll gate was getting renovated. Getting, made to look nice again.
Yeah.
So, the Marquis and his friends grabbed the red paint and some brushes and used them to paint the tollkeeper, the booth, the constable, and then they proceeded to paint. They then proceeded to paint various doors and signs, all in a drunken mob, just slathering it everywhere. Responding police officers also got hit with the red paint. Eventually, this was just insane. Some of them got arrested. Miraculously, the Marquis didn't get arrested.
Well, obviously.
He managed to get away, and then he sobered up in the morning. He paid for the damages to people and property.
My God, he does more than some people do nowadays.
He and his group were put on trial, but they were found not guilty. But they only had to pay £100 each for assault, which doesn't sound like a lot, but this is 1837.
I was going to say, now a time, though.
I did some checking. I wanted to actually look into how much the inflation was. Adjusting for the equivalent is the equivalent of £14,324 and some change, which
translates in American money.
I think I have this number right. $139,032 and some change.
Whoo!
Yeah. I think I have that right.
That's more than my house.
I could be wrong, but I think I have that right. Boy.
Oof.
Yeah. Just for the current, just for the, because I know the pound.
Could you imagine how many Lincolns you could buy with that?
Oh boy. Okay, yeah. Whoops, I was wrong about the numbers.
A tad off.
I got a little off. I mean, I wasn't a math major, so hey, I wasn't even accounting either. So I'm just gonna say that I'm an idiot.
Accounting correctly.
I'll say I'm an idiot regardless. But still, that's a good chunk of change. I mean, nobody just has $17,000 in their bank account nowadays. So imagine being that. Imagine that paying that off. But the reason I did bring up this story for one reason, though, because they were they were drunken, stupid, and they had a bunch of red paint. They painted doors and signs. This is one of the origins of where we get the phrase "paint the town red." I'm not kidding. You've heard the phrase.
Yeah.
This is where it comes from. This is one of the stories from where it comes from.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
All the signs were there.
I was looking for... Yeah, all the signs are painted red, too.
Shut up. Premeditated. Just saying.
Now, the Marquis sounds like the right person, right? I mean, negative attitude towards women and police. Big time gets in the papers a lot essentially...
He's a celebrity.
Yeah,
like,
he is a celebrity.
An 1800 celebrity.
Yeah. You think he'd be the right guy, right? Well, wrong. The Marquis did eventually pass away in 1859, and the Spring Hill Jack sightings continued well past that.
Well, you did say it had cold, clammy, dead hands.
I mean, was this figure...
Zombie!
What's in your head? I mean, was this figure a copycat? Was it the Marquis? Could have been a friend of the Marquis's, for all we know. Because, I mean, he was a rich man, and he hung around with a bunch of other aristocratic jackasses. So, could have just been them. And as it said, they were like, oh, these people probably put a wager on that you can mess with the common folk. Which may have happened.
But did they breathe fireballs?
No. Or could this have just been public hysteria? Because, I mean, Spring Hill Jack would get it, like he was this,
enigma.
Demented-looking gentleman figure, like described as being a hideous gentleman with the white suit and everything. But others, they didn't fully describe him. And some say that he was a bear, or a demon, or a ghost, or he just changed appearances.
The bear kind of throws me off.
Because it's... People reported seeing what they thought was this man-sized bear wearing like you're thinking it. I can see you think it. Say it.
Man bear pig.
Man bear pig. Man bear pig.
Al Gore was right.
Don't say man bear pig.
That's how it finds you.
But no, like people wearing like
Big fur cloaks.
furs and running on all fours. There were reports of that too. Some people thought that was Spring Heel Jack. Others just thought it was somebody playing a prank.
I would hope.
I
would hope someone would say something if they saw a bear.
A buyer.
A buyer. I don't know what accent that was, but okay.
No. But
so did anyone? Here's my question so far. Has anyone gotten a good description of his face?
Just the fact that he was a devilish-looking gentleman. That's what some of them described. So a lot of people have drawn Spring Heel Jack, and they take the devilish appearance. They either make him have a mask on with like horns and stuff, or they make him look like your stereotypical English gentleman with a Van Dyke beard and the mustache.
So you.
A little bit like me.
A little bit like you.
But usually more angular features. I have very round features. But before I go on, I did look into the types of jumps that Spring Heel Jack could do. A normal human being would actually break their ankles by trying to attempt those.
Yeah.
But something got me curious. I got curious about two things. The high jump and the long jump. Since Jack could do both of those, the world record for men's high jump is Javier Sotomayor at 2.45 meters or 8 feet and a quarter inches. This was 1993. For women's, it was Stefka Kostadenova at 2.09 meters or 6 feet 10 and a quarter inches in 1987.
So he probably didn't jump 9 feet.
Nope.
Without assistance.
Yep. That's just the world records. That's not even the Olympic records. The Olympic records aren't even the world records. The Olympic record goes to Charles Austin, an American who put it at 2.39 meters or 7 feet 10 inches in 1996, and then Yelena Syryasenko at 2.06 meters, which is 6 foot 9 inches, in 2004. That's just the high jumps. There's your world records for the first one and your
and
Olympic
they claim
record.
that they saw him jump over a 9-foot fence.
9-foot fence. Some even say that he didn't just leap over. Like, they say that he actually, he bounded.
Like he cleared it.
Yeah.
Like, there was no, I might not make this. It was...
Yeah, there was nothing, like fully over. Then the long jump, which is kind of where I started with all this. The long jump, the world record for the long jump was by American Mike Powell at 8.95 meters, which is 29 feet, 4 and a quarter inches. In 1991.
No, I can do that.
That's the world record. That's for the men's. The women's world record is Galina Chistякova in 7.52 meters, 24 feet 8 inches in 1988, when she was in the USSR. These people, though, they had a running start. Yeah. Allegedly, Spring Heel Jack could just bing, boing, boing.
Yeah.
That would under normal circumstances for average people, easily break your ankles.
Yeah.
All that stress, wouldn't...
I mean, that would put stress on the world record athletes.
Yeah, even then.
Because they have to train basically their entire lives.
Yeah.
For that.
And other people are like, well, maybe he had special mechanisms in his shoes.
Spring Hill.
I don't think that would have been possible even at the time, because sure, the Victorian era, everybody knows it as this age of technology and the Industrial Revolution, but I don't think there were that many inventions going in like that could have been precise, because you ever seen a spring actually blowing away? It's chaotic. It's not going to be in order, so he would if he had special springs in his shoes.
The capabilities are not met by the times with that.
Yes.
There was no way to control. The only thing I can think of is if he had them in his in his heels, if he rotated down, but even then you still have a tightened spring just sitting in your heel.
Yeah.
If you hit your button or trigger or whatever, that's just going to send your leg off into space.
Yeah.
And then
wouldn't-
you're still not doing 9 feet off one spring,
Mhm.
especially if you're a fat white Marquise.
Oh, he wasn't. Oh, the Marquis wasn't.
Well, I know, but like, if you're a rich aristocrat,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
you're not gonna have. You can't jump 6 feet by yourself,
Also-
let alone with a spring.
Also, I'm just thinking the torque on the springs.
Yeah.
Like they would have like the amount of compression inside of them would require so much more than just
Yeah,
a simple boing. You'd have to like have a full on pwang.
yeah. And then if it goes the wrong way and goes into your heel, then you really do have a spring heel.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt you. But I mean, considering the different changes in Spring Heel Jack's descriptions, because people say, a ghost, a bear, a devil.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
You know.
From the various eyewitnesses, he may have been nothing more than the product of mass hysteria, because everything back then was a lot of hearsay, just by mouth. So it's easy to get freaked out. Like, a couple of people had full-on encounters with this figure, and that's gonna make people get scared. I'm not gonna kid you. I have had my instances when I was younger, when I would hear stories about just basic things, like, even, not to get too specific, but like even reading about in one of the Batman movies. Kind of keeping up with the theme today with Batman, I guess. In The Dark Knight Rises. That was the third one. That was the final one of the Bale Batman.
Yeah.
I remember when the Aurora, Colorado shooting happened.
Oh, yeah.
When that happened, and they said, and I remember reading it said 20 minutes in, and that and 20 minutes in was when the shooter did his thing, and there was a large, and it's a 20 minutes in, there was a gunfight on the screen, and I was watching the movie, and I was timing it like 20 minutes, and I was actually scared to be in the movie theater, just like, what if someone tries it again? I actually was making myself a little spooked.
Yeah, mass hysteria could definitely have been a factor. And honestly, like, with the armory incident with the patrol officer,
Yeah.
he could have just blamed it because he was dicking around and wasn't at his post or wasn't doing his job. And if you hear these stories about a Spring Hill Jack, devil man creature thing jumping around, and you fire off a shot or you're not paying attention and your superior catches you, I saw a Spring Hill Jack.
That might have been that's a good one, yeah.
Like, there's easy outs on some of these.
Because it also all happens at night, so it's most of it happened at night, so it was very easy to just go, oh yeah, no, I totally saw him, and I shot at him, and nothing happened.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was paying attention to what I was doing.
Yeah. I also, there's also the classic fear that Hollywood created of quicksand. Do you remember, did you ever not, like...
Weird segue, but
I know,
okay, let's go with this.
No, it's like true, like a lot of people, like myself
the mass
included,
hysteria around quicksand.
like you're going to encounter it at some point, and you're like, whoa, I got freaked out over nothing.
I've never seen quicksand in my life.
Exactly, you got freaked out over nothing as a kid.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what may have been this. In fact, in the early 19th century, most in England, as well as other parts of Europe, even in America, even in the early America, there were reports of people seeing ghosts just wandering the streets.
Yeah, still is, I'm sure. Yeah,
truly ghost stories that people could talk about being stalked by seemingly incorporeal beings. There was even an infamous ghost story called the Hammersmith Ghost.
And where was that?
In England.
Oh, Hammersmith Odeon.
Hammersmith Ghost.
Yeah.
Near the end of 1803. This is from Wikipedia. I'm just gonna cheat on this one. This is from Wikipedia.
Plagiarism. Your college professors are so disappointed in you.
I know, right? I'm horrible. Near the end of 1803, many people claim to have seen or even been attacked by a ghost in the Hammersmith area of London. A ghost believed by locals to be the spirit of a suicide victim. On January 3rd, 1804, a 29-year-old excise officer. Excise officers are duty to manufacture goods. Like, they kept an eye on like fabric, on like tactile.
Okay.
Not tactile, textile factories. named Francis Smith. He was a member of one of the armed patrols set up in the wake of the reports. He shot and killed a bricklayer named Thomas Millwood, mistaking the white clothes of Millwood's trade for a shroud of ghostly apparitions. Smith was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death, later commuted to 1 year's hard labor. Like, that was an incident that did occur.
Yeah.
All because people thought they saw a ghost in the early 19th century.
And I mean, honestly, with the close encounters of Spring Hill, like at the doors and him actually leaving marks and attacking people, the aristocrat, whoever it was, could have just put on a mask, just could have put on some clothes, had some claws made, or had them, could have fabricated them somehow, some way.
Freddy Krueger style.
Yeah. And been like, this is a good way to assault women.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
And
just how some people were back then.
Yeah, and with the fireball, I mean, like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, there's a scene with the narrator, the juggler guy, the jester.
Yeah, Clopin.
He blows like a fireball with like a stick and some lighter fluid. Well, not lighter fluid, but
high grain alcohol. I think would have been
high grain alcohol. If anyone's gonna have access to high grain alcohol and that kind of clothing,
could have been him. But
it could have been a higher, an aristocrat or a wealthy person. Just messing with people.
Yeah, heck, some of the ghost stories that people have said that they witnessed, they claim that these ghosts would leap over 10-foot walls.
They're ghosts that can go through the walls?
Again, I think it was hysteria, and also there was a post I saw online. It was from Tumblr, but it had creeped its way into Facebook, as most of things do. And it said, "Wasn't it interesting how after we went electric, a lot of ghost stories stopped?" And I'm thinking, you might be right. Gas can cause hallucinations, as well as the fact that like the different paint that they used for walls was also capable of causing hallucinations. There was a lot of stuff that back then really messed up a lot of people.
There's a podcast, I think you listened to it as well, but it's from, I don't know if I should or will mention it, but there's a show that's a half hour long and it's quite morbid.
I haven't seen that one actually yet.
They discuss that specifically.
Interesting.
The gas leaking back into the house, not proper filtration of chemical, the paint, all the medicine that they used to take.
Yay,
all
opium.
That could have been factors that turned into this mess of ghosts and goblins and Spring Hill Jacks.
Yeah, and because I mean, they ended in 1904, which was turn of the century, so things have slowly been progressing forward.
Starting to get,
clearer headspace.
Yeah. Everyone's starting to open their windows.
Yep. In fact, Spring Hill Jack, after the 1900s, even part of the late 1890s, became something more of a boogeyman in British folklore after all this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, parents would tell their kids to behave and go to sleep, or else Spring Hill Jack would breathe fire on them and steal them into the night, appearing at their windows like, "Hey," which is pretty creepy. Pretty creepy.
Hey, you got any Jimmy Johns in there? We're not sponsored by Jimmy John's, by the way.
No. Far from it. Far from it. Yeah, James Jonathan has nothing to do with us.
Oh, he actually got canned out of his position.
Doesn't surprise me.
All right.
But
what was I saying? Jimmy John's.
Scooting away from...
Vito.
I do have... Funny enough, though, Spring Hill Jack did lead to a few things. During the times that Spring Hill Jack was quote-unquote active, many penny dreadfuls would be produced that talked about him.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and people who don't know, penny dreadfuls are cheap serial literature, truly the beginnings of pulp fiction. Science fiction, horror, fantasy, the basic stuff. A lot of the fun stuff.
Horror comics.
Yeah, back then it was pulp fiction. And this is where we would get figures like Sweeney Todd and Dick Turpin.
No idea who that last one is.
Dick Turpin was a highwayman in England.
No, that's Willie Nelson.
He was a highwayman in England, and his exploits were romanticized in these penny dreadfuls.
Okay.
Just because back then a lot of those figures, it's like how we have a lot of old West outlaws. We romanticize them. It's that sort of thing. That's what these Penny Dreadfuls did, and they were also usually 8 to 16 pages long, so about the size of a standard, maybe half a standard comic book.
Yep.
And as the name suggests, they cost 1 British penny, which wasn't very much. Very cheap literature. Spring Heel was initially depicted as a villain, attacking wealthy aristocrats and farmers, but slowly took on a more anti-heroic tone. Like, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't good. He just kind of was like, meh. Like, this person did me wrong, I'm gonna mess with them.
Meh.
And he eventually went on to become more altruistic, defending the weak and the innocent.
Of course, the British had to romanticize him into a Robin Hood.
He eventually became a Robin Hood figure, dressing in suits, having supernatural powers. This truly led to what would be the beginning of comic book heroes. He is one of the first cases of a figure with supernatural powers and a secret identity.
But did he breathe a fireball?
They may have in that, but there are only a handful of like Penny Dreadfuls left, only a couple of them, because
absolutely invaluable.
Because most of them got burned and thrown away.
Trashed, thrown in the river.
There's only a handful that exist that they usually depict Spring Heel Jack wearing almost like a medieval style Batman attire with a pointed cap. You've probably seen them, but
I think I can picture in my head.
Yeah, with a devilish-looking face, wearing what looks like a Batman cap with a feather in it, holding up his cloak like a pair of bat wings, wearing white pants, and then having these large boots. I sent you the image. Just full on looks like a very flamboyant Batman.
Yep, that's exactly the one I was thinking of.
That's the easiest one.
That looks like Dick Dastardly cosplaying at a DC convention.
Yeah, pretty much. There were a couple other figures back then as well who led up to superheroes. The Scarlet Pimpernel came. That's actually one of them.
Oh, okay, I'm good.
You good? That's a name that caught you off guard, huh?
I'm the Scarlet Pimpernel.
Well, yeah. The Scarlet Pimpernel came out in 1905. It was a historical fiction about, and this is just the base of it, it is set during the Reign of Terror in France. It is about a chivalrous Englishman who rescues his aristocratic friends before they are sent to the guillotine. Sir Percy Blakeney leads a double life, apparently nothing more than a wealthy fop, but in reality, a formidable swordsman and a quick-thinking master of disguise and escape artist. His calling card is the flower called the Scarlet Pimpernel, which is just this cute little red flower. So very much French Revolution version of Batman by just the description alone. Master of disguise, wealthy, claims to be is a fop by the public, dresses all finery. Yeah.
So he's more Iron Man than anything.
Give or take, but he's not like, I am Iron Man. I am the Scarlet Pimpernel. No, he's like, I must not let my identity be known.
Oh, this is why we don't let the British do comics. The Scarlet Pimpernel.
That's what they did back then. Back then, that was some great literature in 1905. And people have actually said it's a very good read. It's on my list. But anyway, going a little more contemporary, Spring Heel Jack has appeared in contemporary means.
Yes.
Like, he has appeared, mostly books, audio dramas, not a lot of, physical medias. There's only really one instance where I can recall him appearing in a physical, a visual medium, Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh my god.
Man. Yeah.
I just got Oh my god.
You remember that show?
Fortunate Son's playing now.
That was one of the best shows, but yeah, Spring-Heeled Jack, that's one of the first times I ever met him. I actually learned of the figure, appeared. But instead of being, a harmful, demonic gentleman, Spring-Heeled Jack in this one was a short, troll-like figure who spoke in rhymes with boots that had giant springs in the soles.
I just looked him up.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Pretty goofy looking, isn't he?
Oh, that brought back some memories.
Yeah. This Spring-Heeled Jack was hell-bent on revenge for being turned to stone by a wizard or a magician.
A magician called Simon Magus.
That's it, from centuries ago. He was after Magus's descendants. There we go,
Yep.
descendants. But that's all I have on Spring-Heeled Jack.
There's a Jackie Chan Adventures wiki page.
Yeah. Yep. I did a lot of looking on that too. Hard to believe that, huh?
I feel so old.
Yeah, I feel old too, dude. But that being said, thank you all for listening to Tall and Short with Tim and Tony. I'm Tim.
I'm Tony.
And next episode is going to be the goat. Hope it doesn't suck.
You mean talking about warthogs?
But
Walrus.
so be sure to stick around for it. Anyway,
Pumas.
if you want to interact with us, you can send us an email to tallandshortpod@gmail.com, or you can find us on Instagram at tallandshortpod and Facebook at Tall and Short Podcast.